The sky turned dark at noon, not from clouds, but from the massive ships that now hum over every major city on Earth. They appeared without warning, without so much as a flicker on radar or telescope. One moment the skies were clear, and the next, they were there. Jack Miller stood on the porch of his cabin, squinting up at the distant shape hovering over the nearest town 20 miles away. His hand rested on the warm fur of Max, his German shepherd, who sat alert beside him. The dog's ears were perked forward, his eyes fixed on the same point in the sky. "What do you think, buddy?" "Friendly visitors," Jack asked. Max gave a low growl in response. Jack had seen enough during his 10 years in Special Forces to know when things were about to go bad. This was definitely one of those times. He went inside and turned on the old television he rarely used. Every channel showed the same thing: the alien ships, panic in the streets, and confused reporters trying to make sense of what was happening. "We're receiving a transmission from the ships," a wide-eyed news anchor said. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The screen changed. A creature appeared that made Jack's breath catch. It had gray skin that looked like rough leather, 4 yellow eyes set in a wide face, and a mouth full of teeth that reminded Jack of a shark's. It wore some kind of armor with strange symbols Jack couldn't begin to understand. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and grinding like stones rubbing together. "I am Commander Krell of the Vex Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Resistance is not advised." Max barked at the screen. Hackles raised. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships," Krell continued. "Your governments have been given 1 Earth day to surrender. Those who resist will face our hunters." The camera panned to show a large container behind Krell. With a gesture from the commander, the container opened. Inside was something that made even Jack, who had faced terrorists and warlords without flinching, take a step back. The creature stood on 6 powerful legs, its body covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. Its head was all teeth and eyes, with no visible nose. A long tail ended in what looked like a stinger dripping with yellow fluid. "This is only one of our beasts," Krell said, a note of pride in his voice. "They hunt by your scent, they see in the dark, and they never stop once they have your trail. If you choose to fight, we will unleash them in your cities, in your homes. They will find you wherever you hide." To demonstrate, Krell had a small animal, something that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a lizard, released into the container. The beast moved so fast, the camera could barely track it. 1 second the small animal was there, the next it was gone, with only a smear of blood on the floor. 24 hours, Krell repeated. "Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Jack turned off the TV. His phone rang almost immediately. The screen showed blockaded number, but Jack knew who it was before he answered. "Colonel Wilson," Jack said. "Jack, are you seeing this?" the familiar voice of his former commander asked. "Hard to miss," Jack replied, watching Max, who was now at the window, staring at the distant ship. "We're gathering everyone we can. Need your skills." Jack hadn't been in the field for 3 years, not since the mission that left him with a permanent limp and nightmares that still woke him screaming. He'd retreated to this cabin with only Max for company, trying to forget. "With all due respect, sir, I'm out. You know that." "This is different, Jack. This is everyone's fight now." Jack watched as Max turned to look at him, the dog's intelligent eyes seeming to understand everything. "Where do you need me?" Jack finally asked. "Old base at Pine Ridge." And Jack, "Hurry. These things aren't waiting." As Jack packed his gear, Max never left his side. Some habits never changed. Man and dog, always a team. "Looks like we're back in the game, buddy," Jack told Max, who wagged his tail once in response. Outside, the alien ship cast its shadow over the land, a promise of what was to come. Jack's old truck bounced down the dirt road toward Pine Ridge. Max sat in the passenger seat, head out the window, ears flapping in the wind. The radio played only static now. All stations had gone silent 4 hours after Krell's message. 3 military helicopters flew overhead, heading in the same direction. At least some forces were still active. "Almost there, buddy," Jack said, patting Max's back. Pine Ridge Base wasn't on any official maps. Jack had been there only twice before, for training exercises too secret to conduct anywhere else. If any place could serve as a headquarters for resistance against alien invaders, this was it. A roadblock appeared ahead. 2 Humvees and 6 soldiers with rifles at the ready. "Identification," demanded a young soldier as Jack stopped. Jack showed his old military ID. "Colonel Wilson is expecting me." The soldier looked at Max with suspicion. "No pets allowed." Jack stared hard at the man. "He's not a pet. He's my partner. Where I go, he goes." The soldier started to argue, but an older man approached from the second Humvee. "Let them through," he ordered. "Colonel's orders. Miller and his dog have clearance." The underground base was busy with activity. Soldiers rushed around, carrying equipment. Scientists huddled around computers. Civilians looked lost and scared in corners. Colonel Wilson stood in the center of it all, gray-haired but standing straight as ever. His face broke into a rare smile when he saw Jack. "Still walking with that limp, I see," Wilson said, shaking Jack's hand firmly. "Still giving orders to people who've retired." "I see," Jack replied with a small smile. Wilson bent down to Max's level. "And how are you, soldier?" Max licked his hand once. "Come with me," Wilson said, serious again. "You need to see this." They walked to a large screen showing footage from around the world. Cities burning, people running, and most disturbing of all, the alien beasts hunting in packs through streets and buildings. "They dropped these things in cities that refused to surrender," Wilson explained. "London, Moscow, Beijing, New York. They're moving through populated areas like nothing we've ever seen." The footage showed a beast running up the side of a building, defying gravity. Another dissolved a metal door with its saliva. A third tracked a group of soldiers who thought they were hidden, finding them with what seemed like impossible accuracy. "How do they do that?" Jack asked, watching as a beast found a child hiding in a closet, despite the house being dark and apparently empty. "They track human scent," said a woman's voice. Jack turned to see a slim woman with short brown hair and tired eyes. She wore a lab coat with Dr. Emma Parker on the pocket. "They can detect human pheromones from half a mile away," she continued. "They don't need to see or hear you. They just need you to have been somewhere in the last 24 hours. So hiding is useless," Jack said. "Pretty much," Emma nodded. "And conventional weapons barely slow them down. Their scales deflect most bullets, and they heal incredibly fast." Max growled softly, watching the beasts on screen. "We've gathered everyone we could," Wilson said. "Scientists, soldiers, hackers, even veterinarians. Anyone who might help us find a weakness in these things." "And have you?" Jack asked. Wilson's face was grim. "Not yet, but we need to find one fast. The Vex just announced they're releasing more beasts tomorrow. Thousands of them." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the base. Red lights flashed from the ceiling. "Perimeter breach," shouted a voice over the speakers. "East entrance. We have a beast inside the base. All personnel to secure areas." Jack looked at Wilson, who was already pulling his sidearm. "Guess we'll see these things up close sooner than expected," Jack said, reaching for his own gun. Max stood alert, eyes fixed on the hallway where people were running from. "Get to this safe room," Wilson told Emma. "We need your brain intact." Emma hesitated, then ran in the opposite direction from the chaos. "Ready?" Wilson asked Jack. "No," Jack admitted, checking his gun. "But when has that ever stopped us?" Max let out a bark, as if agreeing. The beast's roar echoed down the hallway, followed by human screams. The alien beast moved like water, flowing around corners, up walls, across ceilings. Its 6 legs carried it faster than any human could run. Its scales shifted colors to match its surroundings. "Stay back," Wilson shouted to the remaining soldiers in the hallway. "Standard weapons won't stop it." Jack positioned himself next to a doorway, gun ready. Max stood beside him, unusually quiet, his body tense. The screams grew closer. Then came a sound like claws on metal. A soldier ran around the corner, blood streaming from his arm. Behind him, the beast appeared. Up close, it was even more terrifying than on the screen. Nearly the size of a tiger, but with 6 legs and no fur. Its mouth opened to reveal 3 rows of teeth. Yellow liquid dripped from them, sizzling where it hit the floor. "Fire," Wilson ordered. Bullets hit the beast from all sides. Most bounced off its scales. A few found weak spots, making it screech. But it didn't slow down. It leaped toward Jack's position, moving too fast for him to aim properly. Then something unexpected happened. Max shot forward like a furry missile, directly at the alien predator. The dog's teeth clamped down on one of the beast's legs. The alien creature made a sound Jack had never heard before, not a roar or a screech, but a high-pitched whine. It tried to shake Max off, spinning in confused circles. "Max," Jack shouted, terrified for his dog. But Max held on, growling deeply. The beast seemed panicked. It backed away, dragging Max with it. Then, in a move that shocked everyone watching, it turned and fled, limping, with Max still attacking. "Follow them," Wilson ordered. Jack ran after his dog, heart pounding. He found them in a storage room. The alien beast was cornered, and to Jack's amazement, it seemed afraid. Max stood between it and the door, barking fiercely. When the beast tried to move sideways, Max lunged forward. The alien flinched back. Wilson and the other soldiers arrived, weapons raised. "Hold your fire," Jack said, watching the strange standoff. Dr. Emma pushed through the group, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's afraid," she whispered. "The alien beast is afraid of the dog." "That's impossible," Wilson said. "These things were designed to hunt humans across planets." "Exactly," Emma replied, excitement growing in her voice. "Designed to hunt humans. Maybe where they come from, they don't have anything like our dogs." Jack slowly moved toward Max, keeping his eyes on the beast. "Easy, buddy," he said softly. The alien predator pressed itself against the wall, as far from Max as possible. Its breathing was rapid, its eyes fixed on the dog. "This changes everything," Emma said. "If they've never encountered earth mammals like dogs before." A soldier handed Wilson a heavy-duty stun gun. Without hesitation, he fired it at the beast. The high-voltage charge hit the creature, making it convulse before collapsing unconscious. "Get it secured before it wakes up," Wilson ordered. "Triple restraints." Jack called Max back to his side, checking him for injuries. The dog seemed perfectly fine, panting happily as if he'd just played a fun game. "Good boy," Jack said, rubbing Max's ears. "Very good boy." An hour later, they gathered in the command center. The captured beast was locked in a reinforced cell, still unconscious. "Dr. Parker has a theory," Wilson announced to the group. "I'll let her explain." Emma stood, looking more hopeful than before. "The Vex come from a sector of space where evolution took a different path. Their worlds have reptiles and insects, but no mammals like we have on Earth. Their beasts were designed to hunt humans, but they've never encountered dogs or other Earth predators." She showed thermal images of the beast's reaction to Max. "See this spike in body temperature? That's fear." The beast didn't know what to make of Max. It's programmed to track human scent, but a dog's smell confuses it. And a dog's behavior, the barking, the direct confrontation, it has no programming for that. "So dogs scare them?" asked a soldier, sounding doubtful. "I think it's more than that," Jack said, looking at Max, who sat calmly by his feet. I think they don't know what to do with an animal that protects humans instead of hunting them. Where they come from, maybe animals and intelligent beings don't form bonds. Wilson's face showed the first signs of real hope. How many military and police dogs can we gather? He asked. Operation Kennel Club, someone suggested with a small smile. For the first time since the invasion began, laughter spread through the room. 3 days later, Pine Ridge Base looked very different. The once quiet underground facility now echoed with barks and growls as dozens of dogs filled the training areas. Jack stood in the center of the main hall, watching handlers work with their dogs. German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Belgian Malinois, and other breeds trained for police and military work practiced specific moves to target the alien beasts. I still can't believe this is our best plan, said Tom, the communications specialist who had joined their core team. Got a better one? Jack asked, as Max sat attentively at his side. Fair point, Tom admitted. Dr. Emma approached, carrying a spray bottle filled with a clear liquid. I think we've got it, she said, excitement clear in her voice. Based on the captured beast's reactions, I've created a spray with concentrated dog scent. It should mask human smell and confuse their tracking abilities. She sprayed some on her arm and offered it to Max, who sniffed and then licked it approvingly. If Max says it's good, that's good enough for me, Jack said with a small smile. Colonel Wilson entered, followed by Lieutenant Rivera, their tactical expert. We have confirmation, Wilson announced. Commander Krell is sending a large force of beasts to the city 30 miles from here. They believe there's a refugee camp there. There is, Rivera said grimly. 2,000 civilians who couldn't evacuate further. Then that's where we make our stand, Wilson decided. Operation Kennel Club begins tonight. As darkness fell, 20 vehicles left the base, each carrying soldiers and their canine partners. Jack rode in the lead Humvee with Max, Colonel Wilson, and Dr. Emma. Nervous? Emma asked Jack, noticing his tense expression. Always am before a fight, Jack admitted, but this time feels different. Usually, I know what we're facing. The beasts have weaknesses, Emma reminded him. Their eyes are sensitive to bright light. Their hearing is tuned for human voices, not dog barks. And they've never had to fight an enemy that fights back in packs. Wilson's radio crackled. Sir, we have visual on the target area. Vex dropships are releasing beasts at the north edge of the city. All units, proceed to your positions, Wilson ordered. Remember the plan. Draw them away from the civilian camp, then engage. They parked at their designated point and prepared. Jack sprayed Emma's dog scent formula on himself and the other soldiers. Max stayed close, alert and ready. Through night vision goggles, Jack could see the alien beasts moving through the streets, six-legged shadows hunting for human prey. Now, Wilson whispered into his radio. On his signal, handlers released their dogs. 20 highly trained canines moved silently through the darkness, approaching the alien hunters from all sides. Max looked up at Jack, waiting for his command. Go get him, buddy, Jack said softly. Max shot forward, leading the charge. The other dogs followed his example. The first alien beast never saw Max coming. The German Shepherd launched himself at the creature's back, teeth finding the weak spot at the base of its neck. The beast shrieked in surprise and pain. All around the city, similar scenes played out. Dogs attacked the alien predators with perfect precision, targeting vulnerable points that Emma had identified from studying their captured specimen. The beasts, programmed to hunt isolated, frightened humans, had no strategy for dealing with coordinated attacks from unfamiliar predators. Some tried to fight back, others fled in confusion, and some froze in apparent shock. Jack and the soldiers moved in behind their canine partners, using specialized weapons designed to penetrate the beast's scales. Through it all, Jack kept his eyes on Max, who moved with the confidence of a born warrior, fearlessly confronting creatures twice his size. In the command center of his ship, Commander Krell watched the feeds from his beasts with growing confusion and rage. What is happening? He demanded of his officers. What are these creatures the humans are using against us? Unknown, Commander, an officer replied. Our database has no record of such animals on any conquered world. Krell's 4 yellow eyes narrowed as he watched a beast retreat from a barking dog. These primitives have secrets, he hissed. I want to know what these 4-legged creatures are, and I want them eliminated. Immediately. Back in the city, Jack grinned as he watched Max corner another alien beast. Operation Kennel Club was working. For the first time since the invasion began, humans were winning. News of Operation Kennel Club's success spread quickly. All around the world, resistance groups began gathering dogs to fight the alien beasts. The tide was turning, slowly but surely. At Pine Ridge Base, the mood had changed from despair to cautious hope. Jack watched as Emma and her team worked with the captured beast, learning more about its weaknesses. The more we study them, the more obvious it becomes, Emma told him. These creatures were made to hunt humans, not to fight dogs. They can't adapt quickly enough. Colonel Wilson entered the lab, his face serious. Enjoy the victory while you can. Krell is changing tactics. He showed them footage from a Vex ship. Commander Krell stood before his officers, rage clear even on his alien face. The humans hide behind animals. Krell shouted. This dishonors combat. I will no longer send beasts against them. I will lead our warriors myself. We will crush these primitives and their 4-legged shields. He's coming down personally, Wilson explained. And he's bringing an army, not just beasts. Full invasion force, headed straight for us. Jack looked at Max, who was playing tug-of-war with another dog handler. When? Intelligence says tomorrow morning. They've pinpointed our base location. The base buzzed with activity as everyone prepared for the coming battle. Extra defenses were set up. Traps were laid. All available dogs and handlers moved into position. You don't have to be on the front line, Wilson told Jack as night fell. You've done enough already. Jack checked his weapon, with Max sitting alert beside him. We started this together. We'll finish it together. Dawn broke with the rumble of Vex ships descending from the sky. They landed in a wide circle around Pine Ridge, cutting off any escape routes. From his position at the eastern perimeter, Jack watched as ramps lowered from the ships and Vex soldiers marched out. They were tall, heavily armored, and carried weapons that glowed with strange energy. Leading them was a figure Jack recognized from the broadcasts. Commander Krell, nearly 7 feet tall, his 4 yellow eyes scanning the landscape with clear hatred. All units hold position. Wilson's voice came through the radio. Let them come to us. The Vex advanced slowly, cautiously. They had learned not to underestimate the humans. The beasts came with them, but kept on tight leashes, their handlers watching for dogs. Jack felt Max tense beside him. He placed a calming hand on the dog's back. Not yet, buddy. Wait for the signal. When the Vex were halfway to the base entrances, Wilson gave the order. Now. Hidden doors in the ground opened. Dogs and soldiers emerged from concealed bunkers, attacking the Vex from behind, while others rushed out from the base. The battle was chaos. Alien weapons fired strange energy blasts. Dogs barked and attacked. Soldiers shouted orders over the noise. Jack and Max moved together as they always had, a perfect team. Max would distract a Vex soldier, and Jack would take the shot. 3 times they saved other handlers whose dogs were in trouble. Then Jack saw him. Commander Krell, moving toward the main entrance of the base, cutting down anyone in his path. Colonel, Jack spoke into his radio. Krell is headed for the command center. I'm moving to intercept. Negative, Jack. Too dangerous. Fall back and. The radio went dead as a blast hit nearby. Jack looked at Max, who seemed to understand the situation perfectly. Let's go, buddy. They moved through the battlefield, avoiding the worst fighting, heading on an intercept course for Krell. They found him just outside the main door, surrounded by 3 dead human soldiers. Krell turned as they approached, his alien face showing surprise at seeing just one human and a dog. "You," Krell said, somehow recognizing Jack. "You are the one who first used these animals against my beasts." Jack raised his weapon. "And I'm the one who's stopping you now." Krell laughed, a harsh sound. "Your primitive weapon cannot harm me." Before Jack could fire, Krell moved with unexpected speed, knocking the gun from his hands and sending Jack sprawling to the ground. As Krell raised his weapon for the kill, Max launched himself at the alien commander, teeth bared. What happened next would change the course of the war. Max's teeth closed on Krell's arm, tearing through the alien commander's armor. Krell roared in pain and surprise, swinging his arm wildly to dislodge the dog. But Max held on, growling deeply. His eyes never left Krell's face, showing an intelligence that made the alien commander pause. Jack scrambled to his feet, reaching for his fallen weapon. "Good boy, Max. Hold him." Instead of firing, Jack circled to the side, looking for a clean attack. The battle raged around them, but in this small space, it was just man, dog, and alien. Krell finally shook Max off, sending the dog tumbling. But Max was up in an instant, placing himself between Krell and Jack, his stance protective and threatening at the same time. "Fascinating," Krell said, studying Max with his 4 yellow eyes. "This creature is not a weapon. It protects you." "He's my partner," Jack replied, keeping his gun trained on Krell. "My friend." Krell's face showed confusion. "Friend? You form bonds with lower animals? This is unheard of." Before Jack could respond, an explosion rocked the area. Part of the base entrance collapsed, sending dust and debris flying. In the confusion, Krell retreated, limping slightly from Max's bite. "Jack." Colonel Wilson's voice came through a working radio. "Fall back. They're bombing the outer defenses." Jack whistled to Max, and they ran back toward the inner base. All around them, humans and dogs were retreating in good order, having caused significant damage to the Vex forces. Inside the command center, Wilson was coordinating the defense. "They're pulling back to their ships," he announced. "Taking their wounded. We hurt them badly." "What about Krell?" Jack asked, catching his breath while checking Max for injuries. "Still out there, but not advancing. Seems like they're regrouping." Emma rushed in, her lab coat dusty from the battle. "We need to capture their communications. Tom says he almost has their frequency cracked." Tom, the communications specialist, was hunched over equipment in the corner. "Not just cracked," he said with a grin. "I'm in, and you need to hear this." He turned up the volume on a speaker. Krell's distinctive voice filled the room. "These dogs, as the humans call them, they are not simple beasts. They work with the humans by choice. I saw one defend its human with intelligence and purpose." Another alien voice responded. "This is unnatural, Commander. All species fight for dominance. These humans have somehow enslaved these predators." "No," Krell replied, sounding troubled. "The one I faced was not a slave. It acted out of loyalty, a concept our kind abandoned ages ago." Jack looked at Max, who was now resting at his feet, and felt a surge of pride. "Keep recording," Wilson ordered Tom. "This is valuable intelligence." For the next hour, they listened as Krell and his officers discussed the dogs with growing concern. It became clear that in Vex society, other species were only used as tools or weapons, never as companions. "We need to study one," Krell finally decided. "Capture one of these dogs alive. I want to understand what the humans have done to create such loyalty." "That's our opening," Wilson said, turning to the team. "They're fascinated by something they don't understand. We can use that." "How?" asked Rivera, who had joined them after leading the Western defense. Jack looked thoughtful. "What if we give them what they want? Let them study a dog, but on our terms." "You can't be serious," Emma protested. "They'd experiment on it, hurt it." "Not if I go along with Max," Jack said quietly. Krell was confused by our bond. He wants to understand it. That's something we can use. Wilson shook his head. Too dangerous. We need another plan. But Jack was already thinking ahead. What if we turned their own surveillance against them? Tom, can you access their ship's systems? Tom looked hesitant. Maybe. Their security is tough, but if I had direct access to one of their terminals, which would require someone to get onto their command ship, Wilson finished, seeing where Jack was headed. Jack nodded, his hand resting on Max's head. Someone they're already curious about. Someone with a dog. The room fell silent as everyone realized what Jack was suggesting. It's a suicide mission, Wilson said finally. Jack looked down at Max, who gazed back with complete trust. Not with the right partner. Jack's plan was simple but dangerous. He would allow himself and Max to be captured, banking on Krell's curiosity to keep them alive long enough to access the ship's systems. You'll have this hidden in your boot, Tom explained, showing Jack a small device. Once you're on their ship, find any control panel and attach it. I'll do the rest. Colonel Wilson still didn't like the plan, but they had no better options. The next Vex attack would likely destroy the base completely. You have 12 hours, Wilson told Jack. After that, we launch everything we have at their command ship as a distraction so you can escape. That night, Jack sat alone with Max, scratching behind the dog's ears. You know, buddy, you didn't sign up for any of this, he said softly. Max licked his hand in response, brown eyes full of trust. Dawn came too quickly. Jack and Max positioned themselves near the edge of the base perimeter, making sure Vex scouts could spot them. It didn't take long. A small Vex ship descended, and 4 soldiers emerged, weapons ready. Don't try anything, human, one said in rough English. Commander Krell wants you and your animal alive. Jack raised his hands. No tricks. Just take us to Krell. The Vex command ship was massive inside, with high ceilings and strange lighting that hurt Jack's eyes. Max stayed close, occasionally growling at Vex soldiers who came too near. They were brought to a large room that looked like a laboratory. Commander Krell waited there, his 4 yellow eyes studying them intently. The human and his dog, Krell said. You have caused me much trouble. The feeling's mutual, Jack replied. Krell moved closer, examining Max with fascination. This creature is not enhanced or modified in any way. He's just a dog, a normal German shepherd, and yet he fights for you, protects you. Why? Jack saw his opportunity. It's a long story. Thousands of years long, actually. If you really want to understand, I can show you. Krell hesitated, then nodded toward a control panel. Show me. As Jack moved to the panel, he felt the small device in his boot. This was his chance. He began typing, pretending to access Earth records, while secretly attaching Tom's device under the edge of the panel. Humans and dogs have lived together for over 15,000 years, Jack explained, buying time for the device to work. We evolved together. They helped us hunt. We shared our food. They protected our homes. We kept them safe from larger predators. A small green light on the device blinked. Tom was in the system. Krell listened with growing confusion. You share resources with a lesser species. This makes no evolutionary sense. Maybe that's why you couldn't beat us, Jack said boldly. You see connections with other species as weakness. We see it as strength. Krell's face darkened. Your pet cannot save you here, human. He's not my pet, Jack said, kneeling beside Max. He's my friend, my family. As if understanding the conversation, Max sat tall and proud beside Jack. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Screens flickered, showing systems failing across the Vex fleet. What is happening? Krell demanded of his officers. Unknown, Commander. All ships are losing control. Weapons systems offline. Jack smiled. Tom had done it. The virus was working. Krell turned to Jack with rage in his eyes. What have you done? Just showed you another thing humans are good at, working together. Right now, your entire invasion fleet is being disabled. Your beasts are being recalled to their containment units. It's over, Krell. It is not over, Krell snarled, drawing his weapon. I can still destroy you and your animal. His name is Max, Jack said calmly. And I wouldn't do that if I were you. Krell raised his weapon. Unleash your beast, human. Let me see its true nature. Jack simply patted Max's head. What a cute pup, he said with a smile. Max wagged his tail and sat calmly, completely unafraid. In that moment, Krell seemed to truly see them, not as enemies to conquer, but as something his species had forgotten. Two different beings with a bond stronger than fear or domination. The ship rocked as Wilson's promised attack began. Jack saw his chance. You can keep fighting and lose everything, Krell. Or you can learn something new today. Your choice. Hours later, as the Vex fleet rose into the sky, leaving Earth behind, Jack stood with Max at his side, watching them go. They'll be back someday, Colonel Wilson said. Maybe, Jack agreed, but not as conquerors, as students. Max barked once, as if agreeing, and the humans around them laughed. In the end, it wasn't weapons or technology that saved Earth. It was a bond formed in prehistoric times between two species who chose cooperation over conquest. A lesson the Vex would not soon forget.